If you're getting sick quite frequently, this is for you. So before you start reaching for all the supplements, I'm going to explain what might be happening and what you can do right now in order to help yourself recover quicker and also get yourself back to the gym. Unfortunately, the risk of sickness isn't actually random, and there's been a ton of research around this. So that graph on the right is basically saying if we train high intensity exercise, or if we're constantly overtraining and under recovering, that we're more likely to fall ill to upper respiratory infection, so that's like basically anything in your throat, cough, cold, etc., than if you were just to do moderate intensity. So moderate intensity protects you a little bit from sedentary, but then when we go too far, we're actually suppressing our immune system a little bit. And the next few slides will explain why. There has been an update to this J curve, and it's known as the S curve, to say that elites can tolerate more high volume training, but you're still at an increased risk. Why is that? Why are we at an increased risk? Well, when we perform exercise to a high intensity, or we do multiple training bouts throughout our week, then we actually suppress our immune system for either 3 to 72 hours post training. Now, that's not actually bad. It's a bad thing. It's basically just your body saying, okay, I've used resources to fight the inflammation, which is good because we need inflammation in order to promote adaptation, to fight off the stress that we've just had. Like, again, we need a stress signal in order for us to adapt to it, and also for us to repair that tissue. So it's not a bad thing that immunity is slightly suppressed. We just need to become aware of it, because chronically, if we're always suppressing our immunity, then we're likely to get sick. And there are a few things that we do in addition to training a lot that also negatively impact our immunity, such as poor sleep, reduce our calories, really bloody stressed outside of training, and then constant high intensity training. And that's when we start to catch the cold every 2 to 3 weeks. And it's just like, for God's sake, I just can't shake this cold. What can I do about it? Well, that's what we've got in the next few slides. If I had to rank them, this is my personal opinion, and I was debating one or two for a little bit, but I think for us, if we're training quite frequently, that energy availability is going to be the biggest one. And energy availability, if you don't know what that means, is essentially food intake. As long as we're getting enough fuel, then we can repair, replenish, and feel nourished, and we can perform better. If we're not taking enough fuel, then we're just putting our immunity on the back burner, and we're likely to get sick. Then I'd say sleep, and for the majority of us, we're just not getting enough sleep. Then I'd say your daily habits / managing your stress, and then you can start to reach for your supplements. If you've got all the rest of the big rocks nailed, reach for those supplements if you need to. However, for the vast majority of us, if we focus on 1, 2, and 3, we won't be getting sick that much of a time. So over the next few slides, I will give you the practical take-homes of exactly what you need to be doing in order to try and mitigate your chances of getting sick. It's not 100% effective, never will be, but this will drastically reduce your chances of getting sick. So energy availability, the biggest predictor I see for athletes who repeatedly get sick is they're just not eating enough. And for the vast majority of us, it's just because we're thinking we're going to try and lose weight and try and perform well at the gym, and it's just that disconnect. It's like we need to see it as fuel. If you're wanting to perform well, it's fuel. If you're wanting to lose weight, then you're not going to perform as well, and it's just a different goal, right? Body composition and performance. And especially carbs. So carbs are king. You've got Mike Gleason's paper over there on the right, and it's basically saying how carbs are essential for your immunity, and if you're depleted, and which is often the case after a high intensity exercise, then your immunity is going to be suppressed. So eat after your training every time, non-negotiable. Try and get in about that 30 to 70 grams of carbs. Let's say in the first hour, you're going to give yourself the best shot. Include some protein in that. So again, that 1.6 to 2.2 grams per kilo body weight per day is what we're looking for your protein intake. And then bonus if we can get that color in there. So we're looking at your fruit and veggies. Main priority is going to get that carbs and protein in. If we can get that color on that plate, perfect. And then we have our sleep. So if you sleep like shit, nothing else is going to save you. No amount of supplements, cold plunges, green powders, anything is going to save you. So I honestly can't stress this enough. If you are sleeping like really badly, please take care of it. This schematic on the side basically shows you the power of good sleep, and it's like the cheapest supplement out there. It's the most powerful elixir. We just don't value it. But if someone puts salt in our water, we're going to pay top dollar for it. So it doesn't make sense. Sleep more. If you're sleeping over 7 hours, there's a 17% chance of you catching a cold. If you sleep under 5 hours, then it's 45%. They basically exposed people who were sleeping this duration to the common cold and found out and tracked who fell sick and who didn't. And this is the percentages. You can read the study down there by Prather et al. 2015. But essentially the take homes are sleep 7 to 9 hours. I know that's not feasible every single day, but if you're doing that majority of the time, rather than trying to get 5 or 6 hours, I know that's quite common for a lot of people. Try to stick to a good sleep schedule. So same sleep and wake time. When you're flip-flopping between, and this isn't possible for people who are doing shift work, I completely appreciate that. But try to have some semblance of a sleep hygiene will massively help you. And then think of a cave. You want to sleep in a cool, dark room. Then there's the daily habits. So there's unfortunately no silver bullet that is going to solve your sickness. But there are small actions that we can stack every single day that will make a huge difference. So if you haven't read the book Atomic Habits, I'd highly recommend it. He basically says that we fall to our systems. We don't fall to like the goal that we have. So yeah, we can like start the day with our best intentions, but if we don't have the systems in place, we're never going to reach that. So let's get these systems in place, and then the goal will become inevitable. So if we want to stop getting sick, set these up, and the goal of not getting sick will become inevitable. So sunlight exposure, 10 to 30 minutes a day. I appreciate for some of us, especially in Europe in winter, it's quite hard maybe to get 10 to 30 minutes of daily sun exposure. So that's where supplementing with something on the next slide will help. Walking is shown that 7,000 is sort of that minimum where we get like the biggest benefit. So you get the majority of your gains from doing 7,000 steps. You don't have to worry about 10,000 if you can't get there, 7,000. Managing stress outside the gym. So this is a big one. Everyone thinks about the physical stress that we do. When we lift weights, when we do something hard, we're like, yeah, we're physically exhausted. That's a lot of stress. Our mind doesn't differentiate between physical stress or mental stress. So if we're really stressed outside of the gym, we're just only putting our immunity further in the bin. Hopefully that makes sense. And then also take your rest days seriously. The reason they are called a rest day or active recovery days is so that you actually do them. You can't just redline every day and then think, oh, I'm going to go for a 5K at zone 2 and do a zone 5 and then be like, oh, I wonder why I'm getting sick so much. It's because you haven't given your body enough time to recover. Stack those daily habits. And then lastly, that's when we should be worrying about our supplements. Once we've got all those other pieces of the puzzle in place, so our nutrition, our sleep, and our daily habits, then we can start to think, okay, what else can I do that will give me that extra 10% that I'm looking for? Probably won't even be 10%, might even be like 2 or 3%. Then there are a few supplements that we can take. So vitamin D3, for those of us that can't get enough sun exposure, depending on where we live. Vitamin C, but I wouldn't take this directly after training. There's been some research to suggest that vitamin C actually blunts our adaptive response to training. So just having it a few hours later in the morning, just not around training, essentially. Zinc. So the moment you realize that you're getting sick, take a, I can't remember the units, you'll have to look it up. I think it's like 75 micrograms of zinc. And that will help mitigate symptoms as well. It basically like gives your body the resources to build more immune cells so that it can fight the infection. Creatine indirectly helps by improving your recovery, but none of these are going to help undo poor sleep, poor nutrition, chronic stress. So only reach for these if you've got everything else nailed. But they're the supplements that I'd take to help. And then lastly, I know for a lot of us, we are like, when can we get back to the gym? Like, I just want to get back. I don't want to lose my training. I don't want to lose my gains. I've been out for a couple of days. Like, I'm going to go backwards. Chill. You're going to be okay. Firstly, ask yourself, are you contagious? Because we don't want that. If you're coming to the gym and you're ill and you're giving it to other people, that's just selfish. Please stay home. Don't give it to other people. If you aren't contagious, then we can sort of use the rule of thumb of the neck check. So there's a theory that from the neck up, if you've got a bit of like a nasal, like runny nose, nasal congestion, sore throat, etc., then you can get away with doing light to moderate exercise. I still won't go hell for leather, but light to moderate exercise. Still do your lifting, etc. Just wouldn't be redlining it. You probably wouldn't be able to anyway. And then if you're below the neck down, say you've got chest congestion, really bad hacking, like phlegmy cough, body aches, fever, etc., probably best to just stay home. The science around detraining is quite solid. Again, 2 to 4 weeks, you're not going to see any really backwards momentum there, especially if we get you back on training and on the periodization. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. If you are taking prolonged periods of time off, I get that you want to get back to training, but ultimately focus on your recovery. The gym will always be there. And lastly, I'll just leave you with the same sentiment that we opened this with. Sickness isn't random. If you're getting sick all the time, it's a red flag that we need to slow down, we need to fuel better, we need to sleep better. I don't know if I've said better harder. I don't know how you sleep harder, but sleep better harder. And then respect the psychological stress outside of the gym. If you are just worrying about your physical stress, let's also do the audit of like, oh no, there's actually a lot of stuff going outside, and try and manage that stress too.